Hi, and welcome to another episode of Punk Rock Politics with John Smith. As I see my guitar behind me, I just thought that the first couple videos I tried to introduce with some of my music to bring you into the video, hence the name Punk Rock Politics. I'm a musician and I love punk rock, and it taught me a lot, and it got me to express myself, and it got me to look into issues of corruption and get involved in political action, activism, protesting, and researching and studying American history and politics, and just history and politics in general. So anyway, we're going to discuss the Kyle Kulinski show, also known as Secular Talk. You look it up as Secular Talk on YouTube. We're going to show a quick video of him, and then we're going to discuss what Kyle Kulinski said, because he's got some good points here. And he shows you videos from, I believe it's MSNBC, and they're talking about, if it's not MSNBC, it's probably NBC, one of the mainstream media, corporate media things. They're all the same. So it's talking about how the media suddenly realizes Bernie Sanders was right about the coronavirus after, bashing him and ignoring him and insulting him constantly. They probably still are doing this. They seem to be still doing the same thing, but nonetheless, this shows you how serious this virus is and the hypocrisy of a lot of them. So let's check it out, and then we'll discuss it after.
Is finally realizing that perhaps Bernie Sanders was right all along. The media is finally realizing that perhaps Bernie Sanders was right all along. Look at what they're saying now, that we are officially a nation in crisis.
City and state emergency services around the country are pleading with the White House for more protective gear amidst the coronavirus pandemic. On Sunday, President Trump again resisted invoking the Defense Production Act, wartime authority to mobilize industries.
We're a country not based on nationalizing our business. Call a person over in Venezuela, ask them, how did nationalization of their businesses work out? Not too well. The concept of nationalizing our business is not a good concept.
Joining me now is Michael Chertoff, former Homeland Security Secretary for President George W. Bush. Thank you very much, Michael. I know you're an expert of crisis management around the world. With all due respect to the president, the Defense Production Act, created in the Korean War after all of the wartime production, the B-17s that all the Rosie the Riveters produced, is not socialism, it's not Marxism, it's not Venezuela. It's very much American to have this act and have it ready for a crisis such as this.
Speaking, if there is any precedent, what fixes this? What should they do today?
So this is a great question. In the space of 3 weeks, I've gone from asking questions like, how do we pay for certain policies, to retweeting tweets from the likes of Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We need to protect people, the most vulnerable people in society, and we need to do it in size, and we need to do it at speed. So these cash handouts that people are talking about, exactly right. The problem is we've done this in the past, and those checks took an average of 2 months to get to people. We need a massive fund to support small and medium-sized enterprises, perhaps interest-free. Let them borrow money so that they don't fire their employees, even if they're not doing anything.
Anybody who's sincere about addressing a crisis like we have right now, they instantly become lefties. Instantly. You want to know why? Because in a time of crisis, nobody's like, man, the government needs to do a lot less, doesn't it? What? No, the only way you can mobilize to fix some of these problems is with a centralized effort. It's the only way. Top down. Sometimes you need top-down solutions. Listen, doesn't mean bottom up is not a thing that should happen quite a bit. It should. But in certain circumstances, like climate change, for example, it needs to come from the top down. We need to enact government policies. There's no way around it. You have to do that. By the same token, dealing with a pandemic, you need to lock down the country. You need quarantines. You have to do that in order to curb the spread of this thing. You have to have a national healthcare system to really mobilize in a way where you get all the hospitals what they need. There's no way you could do it with our ragtag, broken down, fragmented system, where, there's no centralized authority really making the decisions. This is why Spain nationalized their hospitals in this crisis. They didn't have nationalized hospitals before. Now they do, because they're like, we have to address this. You can't have a system where, people are worried about making a profit in a pandemic. What are you going to do? So what happens? If you're not going to make a profit, you're going to turn away everybody that needs the care? The incentive structure is all messed up with the system. And right now you're seeing, and the other point is the direct cash to people. Like, yeah, we need to do that. There's no way around it. If you don't do that, we're looking at a crisis that's even greater than the Great Depression. Now, the thing that Andrea Mitchell was talking about is fascinating because it's the Defense Production Act, which basically makes it so that the president can tell private businesses, stop what you're doing, help us with this effort, like it's a war effort. We're fighting a war against a pandemic, a war against a virus, very similar to a war against a foreign enemy. So the idea is let's make it so that private businesses are compelled to make the things that we need. Namely, you go to car companies and they have the ability to make ventilators. So you go to them and say, make ventilators and make them now. The president demanding private industry do certain things. And notice what they said there. What is effectively temporary nationalization of certain industries. You got Andrea Mitchell like, this isn't socialism. This isn't Venezuelan. This is so American. Man, it finally occurred to me after seeing this clip and after seeing something that Jimmy Dore retweeted. Because somebody tweeted to Jimmy Dore, hey man, I don't want to call a direct cash payment to everybody and free healthcare for COVID-19. I don't want to call that socialism. It's Americanism. So you're telling me all along the answer was right under our noses. That the way you get Americans to fully embrace a left agenda, even though they already do when you go issue for issue. But the way you bump up support even more to where it's nearly unanimous is to just cloak it in patriotism. That's it? That's all you had to do? Okay, noted. Noted. Moving forward, we will be doing that on this show. Why? Because it clearly works. When you can get MSNBC hosts who are corporatists to their core to be like, I think we should nationalize businesses to make sure that we can fight back against this common enemy of the virus. I think the federal government should compel private businesses to do certain things when it's necessary for the nation. You don't say. Okay, great. So from now on, we will be endlessly pushing the notion that all these programs and a left agenda is deeply American. Deeply American. FDR, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed doing what? The Poor People's Campaign. He was killed protesting for union rights, for labor. So, there is a strong history, whether it's the war on poverty, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, of leftism in America. That is as American as apple pie. So let's say it. Social democracy or democratic socialism as American as apple pie. So I got it. I will now use that framing moving forward because apparently that's all you needed to really convince everybody, including corporate media hosts. I love when that commentator said, I went from asking how are we going to pay for all these things to retweeting Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, so you woke up. You woke up. You realized like, oh, this is really serious. And there's only one way to fight this, which is to actually fight it by mobilizing at the national level and having the federal government spring into action. So congratulations. Now, just make sure that when this crisis is over, you don't go right back to being wrong. Because in the same way that we desperately need national health care and people to get free treatment for coronavirus, we need it for cancer, we need it for strokes, we need it for heart attacks, we need it for other viral diseases, we need it for other bacterial infections, we need it for everything when it comes to health care. The direct cash payment, I'll tell you what, now it's very clear. People are like, oh my God, look, so many people are going to be unemployed, so many people are going to be screwed, they can't pay the bills. I got news for you, man. We have tens of millions of working poor people in this country before the crisis. Now we're just exacerbating how many people are going to be unemployed and how many people are going to be in dire straits. But there were always people, talking about 500,000 homeless people, for example. People who work full-time and don't make enough money to survive. They were always there. So now you can see how stark it is with a crisis. Just keep these things in mind. Keep it in mind for when the pandemic is over, because we're still going to have massive problems that we need to attack in a way where we embrace left solutions, because they're the only solutions.
Okay, so you heard from Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk there, and he's dead on so many points. That's actually one of his best monologues that he gives that I've seen in a while. Not that he doesn't do good ones, but he was totally on point, very clear, very concise, made a lot of great points. So what we call socialism or democratic socialism or democratic, or social democracy, we just call it Americanism and everybody's on board. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's okay to have to do that and have to like beat your chest and say you're patriotic, but you know what, if that works to get people health care, to get people fairer wages, more unions, protections, and just have people have, health care for the elderly, assistance for people that need to live at home but can't get around, make sure people are safe, like you said. So these are just all these crises coming into one. The coronavirus is only highlighting them all for people that weren't paying attention. So as he said, we have tens and tens of millions. I believe the Poor People's Campaign, I did a few videos on that earlier, and showed their video and then gave some analysis. I did 3-part video of the Poor People's their recent campaign. They're going to have a march, I think it's June 20th, 2020 in D.C. to emulate the Million Man March and a lot of the things that Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting for, as he also discussed. But this is just a bunch of crises that are culminating, like exploding, and nobody can hide from them or ignore them anymore. And maybe you live in a nicer area where you don't see these things in your face every day, but they exist, and there are working people who are already poor, and now they're super screwed, and we need to help them more than we help the people that are better off. Get to work from home or have a lot of money in the bank or savings, stocks, etc. So what was interesting, I mean, the whole thing was interesting, but the media blitz that they usually do against Bernie Sanders is just unconscionable. It's propaganda for the party of the DNC elites and for Republican elites. It's just gross. And it's funny because, these things are socialism. We're already a mix of capitalism and socialism, because socialism is what saves the awful issues with capitalism, which have been proven to fail and have clearly failed for many, many years in this country. Most people are suffering. And we do need to protect people from everyday diseases, from the spread of another pandemic, which, as we don't address climate change, like you said, bottom up is great, doing things at the local level. Excuse me, my throat's got a tickle. Yes, absolutely. The thing that people don't understand about leftists is a lot of leftists, including myself, what we believe is, and know from facts, is that we need to even the playing field by helping people out and giving them higher wages, giving them free health insurance. We need to level the playing field so then people can produce more and create a better economy for all and produce more for society. You need to give them free education, so they don't have to worry about paying debts and all these complications, for years. That's just awful. That's not a problem. They do it in a lot of other countries, and they have higher index of happiness. They have a better economy, a more equal economy, and people work less and produce more. So, that's just the reality of the situation. So it's interesting that people are calling the takeover of government Americanism. Call it whatever you want. But it is socialism, and socialism is not a bad thing. The new movement for socialism, yes, government gets involved, but not in everything. Only when necessary, which healthcare is necessary. Climate change is necessary. We need professionals at the top that have all the data and information and the apparatuses and the infrastructure to fight the climate crisis and save us from ourselves. We need that. We need a nationalized healthcare for all of our people, so people do not die of curable diseases and do not suffer and spend hours or weeks on the phone with insurance companies arguing about what is and isn't going to be covered, going to the doctor or not even bothering to go to the doctor like I do, because they're not going to cover it. I can't speak to a psychologist or psychiatrist. Most people can't, even when they have insurance. The whole thing is a joke. You can't get tested for certain heart conditions. Even if it runs in your family, they'll be like, you're too young. I'll just keep denying you. So you just give up on the whole thing. And it puts you and everybody around you that cares about you and relies on you at risk. So it's abominable, and we need to do something about it. So call it what you will. Call it Americanism, like this guy said. When you nationalize government industry to help, or you nationalize the government to help, society. Call it what you will. But we need it, and we need it desperately right now. And Bernie Sanders and AOC have been leading on this. Now, there's been some recent criticism of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I haven't done a video on that, but that's coming tomorrow. And I'm gonna keep pumping it out here at Punk Rock Politics. So I'm gonna be releasing a ton of videos. I'm actually recording this at 11:33 on April 1st. So happy April Fools, happy April Fools, motherfuckers. So what we're gonna do is what I'm gonna do. I say we're, because I like to feel inclusive, and I like to to make you guys feel part of this, and you are, because anybody who views this or watches this or shares it or likes it or comments on it, thank you, by the way, for all those people that have liked, commented on videos, subscribed. It means the world to me. It really does. I mean it deeply, and I really appreciate it. But I'm just going to keep getting out information out there that people aren't covering, and Kyle Kulinski does a great job on Secular Talk, and I'm emulating him and others like that. One of my favorites is the Rational National, David Duell. He's great, and yeah, so we need to address these crises immediately. We need to deal with all these crises that have been ignored. Low wages, lack of representation at work, poor health and work conditions. We need Medicare for all. In fact, I would agree, like Kyle said, we need a nationalized health insurance like they did in Spain recently to fight the coronavirus, and like they have had for a long time in England. And it's extremely popular. Anytime they talk about taking it away, people flip out. No way. It's very efficient. It's cost effective. And health insurance companies should be making profit on the coronavirus. That's what's happening. And that's what Trump is endorsing, including the cure for the coronavirus. He's like, gave money to some company, I think it was a German or Italian company, to come up with a cure so they can make money on it. It's absurd. It's absurd. So we need to follow Bernie Sanders in this moment. We need to unite as a people. There's a reason he's the most popular politician in the country. And don't listen to the naysayers. He's the most honest, record-proven politician we have. And this could transform American society. And he's right. Kyle Kulinski is right. The solutions to all our problems are like populist or left solutions, progressive solutions. Call them whatever you want. But like he said, on every single issue, Americans approve of them individually. Medicare for all, extremely popular. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers for years. Look at how popular it has gotten. All right, and it's only going to go up with this crisis. And it shows we need to prevent this. Look at the Green New Deal. Look at all of these things. The majority of Americans want all of them. Sometimes huge numbers. Taxes on the wealthy. Taxes on corporations. Environmental regulation. All of this stuff is what Americans want. But the people in power don't listen to the bottom 80% of Americans. That's an actual study that was put out with a ton of data. So anyway, we need progressive policies to address our many, many culminating crises and to fight the coronavirus. Thanks for joining Punk Rock Politics. Again, go to punkrockpolitics.com. Refrain from that. Go to patreon.com/punkrockpolitics and become a patron today. The first tier starts at just $1 a month. Come on and join. And if you don't like what you got to offer, you can cancel it by the first of the month. And you don't even have to pay it. But I hope you don't do that. I don't think you will, because I provide all kinds of early access and extra content just for patrons. The higher you go, the more perks you get. You should see what a revolutionary is offered. It's beyond the pale of what other people like me are offering on YouTube and Patreon. Or Patreon specifically. It's beyond the pale. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Stay safe out there. Practice social distancing. Try to help your neighbors in any safe way that you can. If you're young and safe, ask them. Maybe you can get in touch with them through email or Facebook or text or phone calls, or leave a sign on your front lawn or in your apartment complex saying, "I'm willing to help." Just text this number or send me a message on Facebook at this. This is my name or this is my Facebook page, and let me know what you need, and I will get to you as soon as I can. And just tell them that they'll leave the money and the grocery list, if you're going to the store, in their mailbox. You'll come and get it, and then leave the food on the front door, knock on the door, and walk away. And give them at least 6 to 8 feet. The further, the better. And make sure you wash your hands anytime you touch a hard surface. I've had a healthcare worker tell me that personally. I know a lot of things are hard surfaces. Clean your door handles, do everything you can to stay safe and keep everybody else around you safe. We need to fight this thing with all we've got, and we need to use historically proven policies, which are progressive, left-wing, socialist policies. All right? The new socialist movement is about getting democracy in the workplace and having a say in what you do and what your company does. That's what we need. Every worker has a stake and an ownership in the company. The manager makes a little more, but you get to elect them, and if they violate their terms, they can get booted out and somebody else can be put in place. That's the system we need. It's actually more efficient. It actually produces more economically. It makes more money, and it's done in other places, especially in Spain. It's a great success where Microsoft and other major corporations study them and ask, how did you do this? Because they have more efficiency, because people are happier, because they have a say, and they have everybody coming together and coming up with ideas on how to do things that they know how to do as workers and what would be better and more efficient and better for the worker. If this would happen, I could do my job quicker, have more time with family, have more time to produce for society, like make music or tell jokes or look out for my elderly parent, et cetera, and make more money for the company, all the same, so I can raise my wages. So we need left-wing solutions to very difficult problems that we've allowed for very long to culminate and get way out of control. Thanks for joining Punk Rock Politics. Stay safe out there.